But this guy right here, absolute savage when the ball is in his hands. What I really love about him is that he kind of creates his own holes because he's so good at cutting.
Yeah.
That's what makes him stand out from any other player, any other running back that's, in the game right now or was in the game and that are legends, because Christian McCaffrey's on his way to be a legend if he can just stay healthy and keep producing the way that he's producing. But he just can cut so quick and he's so elusive with the cut and makes it look so harmless and so easy that kind of opens up holes for him. And I actually talked about it on Fox, and that's what I said about him. I was like, hey, look at him go when he came back this year for a couple of the games. When he cuts, he opens up and draws a lane, and he goes right through the hole because of what he's doing. And then Howie Long after was like, really? He's really doing that, actually. And we looked at some film, and he would be going this way, and the way that he cut over to the left, there was all of a sudden a lane because of the way that he cut and the way that the defenders were moving and just how freaking gravity works when someone's going, or what's it called when you're in motion going that way? And
inertia?
Inertia.
Inertia.
And then it would just cause him to have his own hole, and he would just burst right through that hole then because he just has so much explosiveness. And I believe that's what makes him such a great running back, is that he can create his own lane.
I mean, that explosiveness comes from his grandpa. His grandpa was like a Olympic sprinter. His mom's played at Stanford, soccer player. Dad's Ed McCaffrey. I mean,
how many years did Ed McCaffrey play in the NFL?
I think he played 12 years in the league, won 3 Super Bowls, one with the Niners, 2 with the Broncos. I used to love Ed McCaffrey. He used to cut out his shoes. You know, he was like a grinder receiver. And this guy, like, he was born into this. You know, he's got the gene makeup, which is crazy because his other brothers that played in the league, I think he has one right now at the Commanders. Then
wide receiver.
Yeah. He had another one as well that's coaching now. I think they're like taller, like Ed, and Christian's like just a shit brick house, like a ball of muscle, just 5 foot. You see him, his like off-season training and stuff. He does all like the track workouts, and you see his explosiveness and his movement, and like he works all that shit, and he just looks like a sprinter.
He does,
but doesn't play like a sprinter. He's an elite football player because he has, like you were saying, he's got great vision. You know, he can recognize over pursuit, put his foot in the ground, cut back, and then he has the explosiveness to cut through the traffic. He's also great out of the backfield. We always talk about how good he is as a receiver. I mean, and he's pretty much the focal point to the San Francisco 49ers. They go off of him because of his versatility, because of his effectiveness in the run game. Like, he's really great at that, but you can also line him up anywhere so you can play the personnel game against defense. And like, he's what makes him go. It's been tragic to see his year this year with his injuries and the Achilles and all that. And it's hurt the San Francisco 49ers.
Tremendously. And then also talking about his family and just how legendary of athletes his whole entire family is. His mom also played at the University of Stanford and played soccer there. And that's probably what led him to go to the University of Stanford as well.
Smart guy.
Yeah. I was just going to say that guy just doesn't have athletic ability. Obviously, he's smart as well. I mean, I think Stanford's the Harvard of the West Coast. Isn't that correct? That's what I've heard from others. I mean, I'm an East Coaster, so I only know about Harvard.
I grew up right there.
But I only learned about Stanford once I got into the Pac-10 when I went to the University of Arizona. But Stanford was a school I would never be going to, Jules. Same with Harvard.
I think that's bullshit. I think you could.
I could if I really tried, but I didn't really have school smarts. There's difference between school smarts and street smarts, Jules.
Yeah.
I didn't really care to know that I knew the whole entire dictionary or history book. Like, it wasn't just my forte.
But because you didn't care about it.
That's right. Good point.
Because if you cared about it,
got into Stanford.
I mean, I've seen you practice.
Jules. I appreciate that.
You studied pretty hard.
Thank you, man.
We'll come into this. Rob will come with his little notepad and shit. Look at his voice apps. He's been taking notes for the guys that we're doing. Like, when you care about something, you work hard. He's had some crazy games. He was like the first player to go run for a touchdown, throw for a touchdown, and catch a touchdown since LT did it, which is crazy. He's just Mr. Versatile.
I mean, he had the third most scrimmage yards in a single season in NFL history. I mean, the fantasy points this guy was throwing up, he was winning fantasy games for individuals, you know, just by himself.
A 471.
You know,
in comparison to you had a 430. What do you have, a 330?
I mean, it's the second best season of all time that he had, you know, when he went, you know, for all those yards. What was it, last year in San Francisco? That year, it was the second best fantasy season in all of football after LT, after his year in 2006. So
2019.
I mean, this guy is, like you said, he has great vision. He's super strong, so it's hard to take him down just one-on-one. I mean, a defensive tackle can take him down one-on-one, but when a linebacker or a safety comes at him, he can make him miss very easily, and also they just bounce right off of him too if he has his balance on, if he's not, you know, coming off of a, you know, 1 foot step or something or getting hit. So it's very hard to tackle him. Great receiving back as well.
You remember him balling with Cam?
You were
when he was
just going over the. No, yeah, right there. No, I was on fire. Hold on. All right. No, go back again. Yeah, no, yeah, right there. Yeah, I mean, like I said, he was strong. Yeah, and no one can take him down one-on-one. A defensive tackle could, but he would probably make a defensive tackle miss if they were coming after him. Solid after the contact, obviously. That's what makes him strong. You know, he's a strong player. That's what makes that elite, you know. And he's a grinder. No doubt about that. Loves to work out. Loves to have that. Man. Yeah, the off-season workouts he's been doing.
He looks like a fucking Greek god.
And he makes sudden movements as well. That sudden step, very decisive. That's what makes you a great running back. That's what makes you great going through the holes, and that's just what makes you a great football player, is just being sudden and decisive, and that's what he is.
Rob.
Yeah.
So what if like Brian Daboll was like your babysitter?
Brian Daboll.
Yeah, because
he was my babysitter. He was my coach for 3 years. He babysat me every freaking meeting in practice.
Just saying, what if he was your babysitter when you were like 11 or 12? How much smarter of a football player do you think you'd be?
Dude, I'd be a genius, because Brian Daboll was a genius as well as engraving football into your body and loved talking football. I would have been the smartest player probably in history if I had Brian Daboll as my babysitter growing up.
What if Kyle Shanahan was your babysitter? You'd probably be Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly.
Smart.
Well, that is why. So Brian Daboll babysitting me if I was growing up is like,
that's what I'm saying.
Kyle Shanahan was
freaking
CMC's babysitter growing up as a kid.
Well, because, you know, Ed McCaffrey played for the Broncos, won 2 Super Bowls with them. Mike Shanahan, coach. Son, Kyle Shanahan, ball boy, probably hanging around with all the athletes and stuff.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I mean, so he's got football in his blood. I mean, he's got specimen in his blood. He's got football in his blood. I mean, he's had the hype his whole life, and he's always surpassed the hype. The one thing, what? Oh yeah.
I'll keep going too. What you're going with?
Yeah. Also, you know, like, it's not just him. He has his brother who plays for the Commanders. What's his name? He's got Luke. He's got Luke McCaffrey that plays with the Commanders. I mean, how cool is it to have a brother in the National Football League? But, you know, you were the Christian type brother, because, you know, and then, you know, because
I was the baller.
Well, there's superstars,
I know what
and then
mean.
there's NFL players.
Yes.
You know, and then how do you think your younger brother feels?
Actually, I love my younger brother. He's great.
But like, do they always like? But what do they think about? Like, you're the Gronk. You're little. My daughter knows you as the Gronk. And like, you're the youngest brother. Like, how does that?
Well, first off,
if you're the superstar brother, how do you treat the younger brother?
Well, first off, it wasn't even about that. It was just super cool to even have a brother in the league. And I actually had 3 brothers in the league. Yeah. Dan and Chris, they're my older brothers. And I played with Dan in New England for like a couple games during that second year that I had the fantasy year as well. My best fantasy football season ever, and actually best fantasy football season ever by a tight end as well. So my brother Dan played with us for a little bit. And then Chris actually played fullback. He played for the Broncos, the Chargers, and also the Cowboys and Colts. You know, he played about 3.5 years. No, he was not on practice squad. So that's the only one I didn't play with. And Glenn, who's younger than me, 4 years younger than me, he was on the practice squad for us for 1 year. He started on the Bills. Actually, he got cut at the beginning of the year. I think after the first or second game that we picked him up on the practice squad, and he was a kind of an all-purpose H-back. You know, he could play fullback, he could go out in the slot, position, and he was a great, practice squad player for us, and was actually ready at any time to get called up. But he was on the practice squad that year that we beat the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. So my youngest brother has a ring. But, dude, let me tell you, it was the coolest experience having my brothers on the team, and not just even having them on the team, just to have them in the NFL, man. It just makes you that much bigger of a fan of the NFL because you're just paying so much attention and detail to what your brother's doing because you want him to be successful. You want him to have success, and you're going to tune into him because it just makes it that much more special to know that you know that person and you just don't know him. It's your freaking brother. It's your family member. So super cool, man. It's the best. It's the best.
Do you remember like when you guys were kids dreaming about being in the NFL? And then do you ever remember a specific time? I wonder if they think about that as well. You know what I mean? Because there's a time when you guys are all playing football in the backyard where, there's no rules. You're just tackling each other, but you're like, did you guys have that?
100%, dude. We always dreamed about making it to the NFL. And actually, when you're in the backyard, you were never like your own person. You were never yourself. You were always that guy that you looked up to. So I loved Eric Moulds, bro. So, like, Eric Moulds, wide receiver, Buffalo Bills. So, like, every time I split out wide, like in the backyard, I'd be like, Eric Moulds coming at you, baby. I'm about to score. And then I catch you a big Eric Moulds, baby. I'm Eric Moulds. Here I come for you. You're never yourself. When growing up as a kid, you were always your hero, which was always cool.
I mean, you guys are kind of the same. You had an Olympic grandfather that was like a bicyclist.
Yeah, he was a bicyclist. Yeah, that's what it was.
He's right here.
Yeah. Oh, where? So he actually, speaking about it, because the Olympics were 100 years ago in Paris when he actually participated in that cycling, year in the Olympics. And that was 100 years ago because the Olympics were in Paris again this year, 2024. So it became a big story that my great-grandfather was in the Olympics in 1924 as a cyclist. He ended up in 45th place, actually. And now I found out why. Because the French cheated. They made him change his bike. They said his bike wasn't legal in 1924. The bike he's been training on, the bike he's been riding with, they made him switch out his bike, and the French gave him a bike to ride on in 1924 that he's never ridden on before in his life, or else he would have gotten freaking first place. They knew this world could not handle the Gronkowski name becoming that big time in 1924. So therefore, the French dethorned him.
Putain!
And gave him a bike that wasn't working. I swear the tires were flat.
In French, so like
the tires were flat. But yeah, we go way back, just like the McCaffrey family.
Wow.
So what is McCaffrey, Jules? Come on now. Let's categorize him.
What? Oh yeah, because Shannon Sharp.
All right.
All right. All right. I mean, being around being around the Broncos organization as a kid, you got the picture with Shannon Sharp, Uncle Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that had to be so cool.
Definitely. I mean, it was just in CMC's DNA, just growing up, just the culture that was around him as well. His family, his dad was in the NFL. Then, Christian sitting on Shannon Sharp's lap. I mean, he just saw it growing up. He saw what it took. And that's when Christian McCaffrey kind of knew he was going to make it to the NFL because he was already so much better than, everyone as well. And at 7 years old, what did he do again that just kind of just blew up now that's always talked about?
7 years old.
7 years old.
Remember, what did he do?
He freaking scored a touchdown.
In the mascot game?
In the mascot game.
With a little kid?
As a little kid. He already knew he was going pro. He's around all the pro players already.
Yeah.
He's dominating on the field as just a Pop Warner.
He scored a touchdown on these guys.
Yes.
And he pulled out wait.
Come on. What did he do? Come on, Jules. You know what he did.
He pulled the Sharpie out and signed it. He did the TO.
He did the TO before TO did the TO.
No, it's probably TO did it and then he did it.
No, he did it. It was
what year is this? And
2003. TO did it like way after 2000.
No way.
Really?
I think TO did it in like
when
90.
When did TO do it? Oh, so he did the TO after TO. But all right. I mean, to do that as a 7-year-old kid,
He still runs the same.
you know what that makes you?
Wait up.
Makes you a beast.
Wait up. Let's see it. Wait up.
Oh, look at that. Had that Sharpie ready.
Does anyone have that ball?
Signed
Does
the
anyone have
ball.
the signed ball?
That was a quick signature, though. And then he just tossed it into the stands.
Wow. He was bred to do it. He was bred to do it. All right. Time.
All right. So what kind of dude is Christian McCaffrey? I mean, after watching that clip as a 7-year-old kid, I kind of already know what he is, man. There's no doubt about it in my
It's
mind.
in his blood. He's got the pedigree, Heisman finalist, freaking all-time fantasy guy, top 2. I mean, he was supposed to do what he's doing. He's a fucking stud.
He is a stud. Only a stud whips out that marker at 7 years old.
7 years old,
and
does
signs
a
the
TO.
football and just tosses it into the stands.
Confidence, though. You see the confidence in the kid?
Knowing you're going to go pro.
He didn't. He
even
wasn't
at that
like
age.
he wasn't John. It was like very professional of him. It was a professional freaking TO celebration toss. On 3, what is he? 1, 2, 3. Stud.